I believe we're live. Hello, I'm Cerri Lee, and I will be your host this evening for Tea with the Druid. And I can already see there are some people here. Hi, Marge, Neem, Sarah. Blimey, there's lots of places. Wales, from Germany. Right, we're just going to sit here and I'll waffle for a few minutes while people join from everywhere. Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I've been hanging around Obod, and my husband is Dave the Bard, and oh blimey, West Yorkshire, Denver, Iceland, Michigan, Ireland, Anglesey. Oh crikey, loads of people joining in. Right, I have to see what near the Danish border. Happy Lunasa as well. Yes, happy Lunasa. To everyone. Sultry London. Ooh, I've never heard it called sultry before. How fabulous. Chichester. Where is Abruzzo? Oh, that's amazing. Portugal. Crouch End. Hello, Philip. This is amazing. People from all over the world. It always astounds and astonishes me that people tune in from all over the place. It is just fantastic to have such a worldwide community. Just look, Ontario, Canada. Heather from North Wales. New York, Missouri, New Orleans, California, Crete. Oh my goodness. Poland, Rexford, Ireland. That's just so many people from Kent, Mexico, New Mexico, sorry. Hence, just down the road. Blimey, Denmark, actual Denmark, not just on the border. You should be getting together, you two. And New Zealand. Norway. I'm just astonished. I love this. This bit is fantastic. Just seeing you all kind of appearing all over the world. It's just incredible. Welcome, everyone. That's Luna, so blessings from Spain and Texas, Washington, the Czech Republic. Hello. Sunny Devon, Wisconsin. Oh my goodness. Oop, up the road. Oop the road, Rosie. Oh, blimey. That is amazing. Just so many people from everywhere. I know. Right. Okay. So as everyone, and Edinburgh, oh, look up, beautiful Scotland, beautiful Wales, beautiful everywhere. Places I've never been to, places I've been to often, and places I desperately would love to go to. All of you. I just saw Rebecca from Jupiter, and I didn't see the Florida bit at the end. That's amazing. Right. No, you're not too late, Ellie. You're fine. I'm still waffling and being agog at how many people there are from all over the world and from the Netherlands. Oh no, John, is it soggy in your part of Scotland? That's sad. Sweden really is a worldwide community out there. Welcome to everybody. It's just amazing. And you've come to listen to me waffle on and be agog all of this. I really appreciate it. Welcome. And for all of you in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the 1st of August, the arbitrary kind of day of Lunasa or Callan Aust, Lammas, Loafmas. It's the first harvest for us in the Northern Hemisphere. Perfect, beautiful. We've had incredible weather, bizarre weather, a reflection of how our world is changing. In the Southern Hemisphere, we have Imolc, Candlemas, or the first ploughing, however you celebrate that in the Southern Hemisphere. Oh my goodness, still more people coming in. Absolutely beautiful everywhere. Wherever you are, whatever the turning season is for you, I hope you've had a beautiful celebration with each other, and thank you for joining me today. I mean, it's 8 o'clock here in Britain. I'm not sure what time it is for you guys. Whatever time it is for you guys, it must be in the morning, I would have thought, for a lot of you. That's amazing. Right, I'm going to stop waffling now, and I'm going to kind of head into talking about how Druidry can be useful, particularly in times of stress, if we feel overwhelmed with world events, with our local events, with just what's going on in our heads. You know, how can Druidry be helpful to us all in these kinds of times? For me here, Lunasa is a particularly good time to think about that stuff. At Lammas, we are looking at harvest, we're looking at sacrifice, we are looking at gathering in all of the produce that we have nurtured over the season of growing. That's a powerful time. It's a time of gratitude. It's a time of looking at that stuff. But it's also a time about thinking about the cycles of life. It's always a time for that. Whenever we look at the turning of the wheel, it's always about searching our hearts and seeing how we relate to this land, whichever our land is, that piece of ground under our feet that we love so dearly. Whether that be an urban environment, whether it be the countryside, or whether it be something in between, all of us stand on the earth and we have a response and a relationship to it. And depending on what is happening in your season at that particular time, it's about how it's important how, as Druids, as anybody spiritual, regardless of what your creed might be, relate to the environment around you. I write the ceremonies for our open Gorseth rituals, and it gives me a perfect opportunity to re-examine how I feel about every turning of the wheel. I look at the traditions of my land, I look at the folklore, I look at the stories, I look at the songs, I look wider across the global stories, across the global songs. I've said this before if people have heard me talk. I adore to learn and to hear other people's stories about how they, my feet are thatching straw at the moment. Oh my goodness. that comment just caught me. What a picture. Yes, the similarities, the things that bring us together as people, but also the things that really make us think about our relationship, not just to the human realm, because for me, that's not what Druidry is about. Druidry, that's part of my Druidry, but you know, I'm a gardener at heart. It's something for me, I think in terms of how the land as a whole works and how we find our covenant with that expressed and enacted within our Druidry. For me, the difference between simply gardening and making that a spiritual act of worship is what Druidry is. It's the definition of Druid in my thing. That's not how everybody sees Druidry, but it's kind of my thing. So when I write the rituals, that's where I come from. I come from looking at the land, seeing what's happening with the animals, with the birds, with the sky, with the breath that I'm breathing, with the grass. At the moment, our landscape is very parched, very stressed, as is a lot in the world at the moment. There's been a severe lack of water, and that gets reflected in the harvests, and in how the land responds to me as a human being. So primarily, I start with the land. My thoughts are with the land. And when we tell the story of John Barleycorn, when we enact in ritual, I get overwhelmed, actually. It's kind of like watching the seed grow, nurturing it to fruition. And then we ritually enact the cutting of the corn, and John Barleycorn lets the seeds fall, which we gather up to transform into our daily bread. And for me, it is the summation of our relationship since we began farming, since we began thinking about things in that sense. And for many people, they don't connect with that story anymore. They don't, they're so unreliant on the daily loaf of bread and where it comes from that there's a sense of disconnect. And for me, Druidry is all about trying to re-inspire that reconnection, because when we're not connected to the land, we begin to see people drifting from each other, drifting from understanding their relationship to the ground they walk upon. They don't see the magic and awe in it anymore. It becomes something to be dominated, something to be controlled, something almost lacking in any spirit. And therefore their food becomes lacking in real nutrition, holistically speaking. And that, to me, is a crime. I mean, I love it. Look at me. I love eating. You know, it's like, but the growing process of nurturing a seed and bringing it through its stages of life and eventually putting it on the table, there is something fundamental missing. There's a fundamental lack of nourishment in that. Even if you don't have a garden, even if you're not able to grow your own, I think even just thinking about the process is important. It's important to reconnect with the magic and the mystery of life. But it's also important, Druidry is also important in the way we deal with our emotions, how we deal with each other's emotions, how we deal with our changing environments, how we deal with difficult attitudes that we find difficult to comprehend. There's a lot of difficult in the world at the moment. There has been a huge amount of difficult with COVID, and for us in Britain, the tragedy that is Brexit and things like that. And sometimes you can feel a tad overwhelmed, and the spiritual aspects of life kind of drift to the back with the practicalities of life coming to the fore, and you just kind of go, you know, I haven't got the mindset for that. I'm too overwhelmed with everything else. So how do we use Druidry in order to deal with that sense of overwhelm, that sense of disconnection, that sense of that lack of magic? And me, I go to composting. This, bear with me. You know, this is got, you know, this is people who understand gardening know how obsessed we are with compost. Composting in the physical sense is about taking the waste from life, putting it in a space where the microbes can start to work on it to transform it into nutrients that you can then feed back into the soil. So for me, Druidry is spiritual composting. You take that stuff that is rattling around potentially in your head or in your life or whatever you wherever it deems to be, that difficult circumstance that causes you real inner turmoil, and you find ways to compost it internally and change how you view about things. And that often comes with acknowledging, that there's waste product, I'll call it that because that's the polite thing to do, rattling around in our heads. I have so much of it, it's ridiculous. And what I do personally, and this may or may not work for you, but I work with story, as I've said. I gather in all kinds of story, all kinds of information. I listen to endless podcasts. I listen to podcasts about science. I listen to it about gardening, philosophy, the universe, the innerverse, spirituality, the lot. I love it. And it's all grist for my tiny little noggin's mill in there, grist for the mill. You can hear it grinding and crunching and tripping over itself occasionally. But in all of that stuff, I find new perspectives. I find new ways of looking at things. On a podcast, listening to a person that I find really difficult, which is Brian Cox, who is a little too arrogant for my liking. However, he came up with this. Before there was life on Earth, there was heat, but there were no flames, because flames need oxygen to breathe. That might not sound really big to somebody else, but it blew my tiny mind at the time. I was like, flames needed life to happen on Earth before they could come into existence. I love fire. I'm in Aries. I love fire. Fire lives and breathes to me. And that absolutely just kind of like, it just made everything I felt about fire kind of go, yes, 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 yes. What a simple thing to cause me so much joy. I know, I'm odd, but I love that. And I listen to that, and I don't like Brian Cox very much. I think he's very arrogant. He's always telling people off because he doesn't think they're factual, like he is the be all and end all of fact. But I also love philosophy and things like that. I found a new podcast today, actually, called Philosophize That. And I learned about a new philosopher called Jose Ortega, Spanish philosopher. What an amazing dude. So much to think about. So much stuff that actually comes in within my feel of how I think about things. I love it. So all of this stuff kind of feeds into my rituals. It gives me a different perspective. It helps me sometimes to get a new perspective on the waste product rattling around in my head. See, I'm being very polite. So with my review, every 6 weeks or so, I sit down and I write a new ritual. I often write it only a day or so before it's due to happen. So I've got that very moment, the weather, I've got my feeling, I've got the sense of how other people are feeling around me, how the land is feeling. And that all goes into every single ritual. And I find time and again that the tales that the ancients have always told, their wisdom just gets deeper and more profound. And I find that I can connect with this stuff even deeper. I mean, I've been doing this stuff since 97 consciously. I mean, I was doing all sorts of things before, but really focusing on my relationship with the land in a conscious way since 97 when I started the herbal course. And every day, every way, I find something else. And composting is a good basis. It's a good metaphor to work from. It's like our psyches. We can translate this into a common language that works for our minds as well as for our food and for the world in general. I'm just referring to my notes now because I've done what I usually do and go off track. So microbes, how can we transform our thoughts and actions into microbes that go out and transform the waste stuff in our lives into actual positive actions? How can they transform our emotions into something that, feeds us and nurtures us rather than swamps us and overwhelms us? And one of the things I do, and you may or may not find this interesting or useful, is when I'm overwhelmed, I stop. I just stop and I stand in the moment. And I take a deep breath. I take a long, slow, deep breath. And then I take another. And I feel my body relaxing. I feel my mind stilling, it's still buzzing, and then I take another deep breath. And then between the third breath and the fourth breath, I think of one small thing that is driving me bonkers that I know I can achieve. It might be that great big pile of washing up that's doing my net. It might be that dusty shelf that I have been avoiding for the past 3 weeks. It doesn't matter what it is. It's small. It's achievable. After I've taken my fourth breath, I commit to dealing with that small thing. I do it. I have a sense of achievement. It may be small, but it's one piece of waste product that I have got out of my system, and I can feel smug about because I've achieved something today. And then I take another breath and another and another. And then I think of one more small thing. I do not let the avalanche that is the world and its wife nagging at me at the back to overwhelm that one small thing. I leave that and go, no, just one thing I can do right now. Even if I only do one thing a day, I have done something positive, and that feels good. So how do we apply that to the larger tasks, to social change, to the plastic oceans floating around in the seas that nobody seems to be able to do anything about and is killing our planet? That's too big. It's too big to think about on that grand scale. It's overwhelming. I feel impotent, insignificant, and unable to do that. But with those 3 breaths, that one moment, I can commit to never using another plastic bag in my life. And I can make that happen. No more plastic bags from me going in the ocean, making a poor little tortoise swallow it because he thinks it's a squid or a jellyfish and choking. No more plastic bottle to add to the island oceans of plastic. I did that. And if my partner does that, and if my children do that, how many plastic bottles, how many plastic bags is that? Bloody hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands. And the more people we can inspire to do that one tiny achievable thing, how much mess would we get rid of? How much? And how smug will we all feel about it? It's all about the feel-good feelings, people. That's a tiny microbe. That's a tiny thing that has a massive impact. And it doesn't take much. It just doesn't take much to get that feel-good feeling. Another thing we could possibly do on a more practical level to feed ourselves and to, even, like I say, even if we haven't got a garden, if we have only a windowsill, is we can grow microgreens. It's really easy. Just get a little plastic tray, get some seeds, like peas or whatever. Just put them in a little tray on your window ledge, keep them watered. They're so nutritious. You can cut them and you can eat them, and you have engaged with the mysteries of life. How awesome is that? Something so easy to do, and so full of good feeling all the way around. Tiny things, it's that butterfly effect, that tiny butterfly's wings that causes great storms of change in your mind. Little microbes going out into the world, composting all of the waste in your head and in your mind. Have I read that all? So let's have a kind of so I'm just caught now. If you can't grow your own, visit local farmers. Yes, absolutely. Local farmers and things like that. Bring it all in, local. Small things you can change if you can get there. Works for attitudes as well as plastic bottles. It works for the fact that you can't change other people's minds. You can only change your own. It's no point in shouting at people. I am infamous for the soapboxes that are attached to my feet permanently. I will wave the sword of justice at just about anyone, but I don't yell at them anymore. I used to a lot. It doesn't work. They entrench. They go into their foxholes and they get angry at you. They shout at you. They are unresponsive to that. And hard as it is to see somebody entrenched in a really negative and difficult state of mind, actually you do more by just living what you're doing, just quietly explaining why you're doing it if they ask. Even if they deride you for it, on the inside, you've made a difference. You've made a difference because they have to think about that. They have to go away and think about that. They have to just think, where am I at with this? Why are they so comfortable with what they're doing and I'm not? It's important. These things are quiet. They're the things that change lives. They're the things that change environments, and they're the things that change attitudes. It works. So, with all that in mind, let's have a gentle meditation with each other. I think I would ask you, if you are happy to get comfortable where you are, wherever you are sitting, whether you feel like lying down, wherever you are. Feel your feet on your floor. Let your hands and shoulders rest. Feel the tension leave with every breath. Take a long, slow breath with the earth beneath your feet. Now take a long, slow breath with the sky above us. And a long, slow breath with the waters that flow through your land and out to the sea that connects all. calm and peaceful in this moment. Feet on the floor, shoulders relaxed, head calm and open. Feel a bright white light deep in the heart of you. A small seed, a tiny spark. And as you breathe into that seed. Breathe deeply into that spark of light. And with each breath, feel it grow stronger, brighter, filling your chest. Every breath brings new light, new energy, powering through you, energizing that seed within. Let it fill your chest, work through your shoulders, through your arms, up through your neck into your head. Every breath stronger, brighter, filling your torso, down through your bottom, through your legs, breathing strong and clear, the light growing bright and radiant. Down through your knees, your calves, your ankles, into your toes, into your fingers, and out beyond your head, beyond your heart, beyond your hands and your feet, connecting with your environment. Every breath you are brighter, stronger, clearer, more connected. And take your concentration down and down to the floor, through the floor into the earth. See the world of the microcosm. All of the microbes working, munching, churning, transforming. Tiny acts of magic, tiny miracles of life continuing. And feel those microbes feeding the mycelium in the earth that help the plants exchange nutrients. Feel those nutrients working their way into the plants, the trees, and then into the life that works and lives with those plants and trees. And feel ourselves partaking of those nutrients, becoming part of that great cycle. Everything we do, adding, nurturing, and being part of that great mystery, that cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Together, we work for the greater good. We work for the greater light. We are at one with our environment, never separated, not even when we are at our lowest ebb. It supports us, and in turn, we will return to it. And with that sense of oneness, with that sense of connection to the earth, to each other, to every plant, tree, animal, to every mycelium, to every microbe, we draw ourselves back and back. Draw in that power, that nurturing light, and let it radiate in our hearts and minds. Everything connected, everything working in harmony with everything else. And come back to this moment, to this space, to your breath, to your life. And when you are ready, open your eyes to the apparent world, but see all of the worlds as one world within you. Feel comfortable in your space. And I'm just looking at the time. I've overrun again. I just want to leave you with this thought. Joni Mitchell, a fantastic lyricist, wrote a song called Woodstock, which has been recorded by a number of different people. And the chorus goes, "We are stardust, we are golden, and we have to get ourselves back to the garden." I can't think of a better song lyric to live by. And with that thought, I am going to say goodbye for this evening, and I'm going to wish you happy composting, however you do that. Many, many blessings, whether you are in Imulk mode or whether you are in Lammas Lunasa mode. I wish you a really beautiful evening, morning, a really beautiful turning of the wheel. And I will say good night and thank you for being with me. Travel well, everybody. Oh, disappeared. I have to end the podcast now. Bless you all.